Hey y'all, JD's back and we are back with some more Kingdom Talk. Now I said in the last video the next arc was gonna be pretty intense and complex and crazy, etc. But before we even get to that arc, I completely forgot about the training arc. Just a handful of chapters to flesh out the characters a little bit more and give Shin something to do. Start off, Tien reflects on the time she spent with Shin and Issei and the dangers that they faced. Tien understands the power gap between Shin and even Issei. That's why she wants to learn the Shiryu so she can always be with her friends and have the backs. Cute Kai says it's impossible for Tien to learn the technique, and even if she did, she would probably die instantly on the battlefield. Though she does have another suggestion, and that we learn later, is being a strategist. On the way home, Tien tells Shin about Kyukai's revenge tour against the current Shiryu. And after dinner, Tien finally tells Shin about her becoming a strategist and that they'll be leaving very soon. But Shin understands and even motivates Tien to meet him on the battlefield one day. Next day, while Shin is doing some hard labor, Tien makes her way out on her way to the place where she'll learn to become a strategist. Shin comes home to find Tien gone, and Kyukai appears to give Shin the rundown of where Tien went. Tien arrives to a huge palace, and while looking around, she stumbles upon the Ryu faction, and this ends up being their base of operations. So most of the men are against Tien coming in. They ultimately allow it and even give her a room next to her new friend Muki. One of the pillars of the Ryu faction discuss with one of the elders why they decided to take Tien in, as she was part of the King's Revolt. They say Tien is a special piece as they have information in the inner circle of the king. But Shureikon wants an even special piece, and that piece being Shin. Shin and Kai talk throughout the night, and Shin even invites her to stay the night. Shin already knows Kai is a girl, so he wants her to feel as comfortable as possible, especially being a comrade, but Shin makes it awkward a few times. During the night, Kai tells Shin about his fighting style and how reckless he is. He's been lucky in many of his fights, but once he meets somebody formidable, it's not gonna end well with Shin. Shin also tells Kai that once she's done with her revenge tour, he's already added her to his 100-man unit. The next day, Shin wakes up with Kai gone, of course, and Shin decides his next steps. That being going to General Uki's city, training under him. Shin arrives to the city and makes it to the gate and even gets it to open to see Uki's right-hand man, and then immediately closes it. Of course, this irritates Shin, but luckily Uki is right behind him with his group after they've done some training drills. At the bathhouse, Shin tells Uki about training under him, as just swinging his sword and hard labor won't cut it. Though he doesn't quite agree yet, Uki does let Shin ride with him to the next training drills. On the way, Shin asks Uki about the 6th general system, and we get another explanation, but this time Uki tells Shin that right now no one is worthy of being one of those 6 generals. We even learned the 6 names of the original 6 generals: Hakuki, Kosho, Uku, Shibasaku, Q, and then Uki. Uki says whenever the generals made it to enemy territory, the enemy would immediately open the gates and surrender, and their names would be feared all throughout China. Uki does say Mubu would be an interesting choice, but he lacks battle experience. Uki asked Shin if he wishes to climb up where he is, but
that's not what we want.
Shin wants to surpass him and be the greatest general under the heavens. And of course, this is to Uki's amusement. Shin asks to get trained again under him, but Uki takes that boy's sword and kicks him right off the carrier, all the way down the mountain. Luckily, Shin lands in a river, and when he gets up, he sees a huge battlefield. This ends up being a stateless area with roughly around 100 in population. Uki tells Shin to subjugate the area for him, and Shin agrees, as this will give him a lesson in leadership and strengthen unity. Meanwhile, Tien learns that Muki is going to observe the next battle, as that's the best way to learn on the battlefield. Winter Rob and Quinn would rally his army in the 2nd month of the year. Nothing too major in this arc. We learn a little bit more about the 6 general system from Uki's point of view. I will say seeing the actual faces and names of the generals was pretty surprising, though we don't know the status of any of them except Uki or their whereabouts. I'm really glad Shin is learning under Uki. I feel like that's the perfect pairing that you can ask for. It's kind of like if Whitebeard took Luffy under his wing, even though Luffy would never do that. But with somebody like Shin who wants to grow and be better than Uki, I understand why he would want to train under him. More like the Mihawk and Zoro relationship. Zoro wants to train under him so he can surpass him, just like Shin wants to train under Uki and surpass him. Very much looking forward to this pairing and how far Uki is able to take Shin, and how far Shin is willing to go, and how bad he really wants it. But y'all let me know, how you feel about these chapters in Kingdom? How you feel about Tien learning to become a strategist? How you feel about Shin learning under Uki? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch y'all later.